Mallory here at the Flint RiverQuarium, hanging out outside of our blue hole exhibit, also called Sky Water. So while this is a really cool blue hole replica, it is not an actual blue hole springs. So we are going to take a fun field trip and go find another real one that's actually connected to the aquifer, and you can see a real blue hole springs with the water bubbling up and everything. So, are you ready? Let's go. Here we are at Radium Springs, which is one of the 7 natural wonders of Georgia. As you can see behind me, it's really pretty, really cool, really blue. So the springs, the rock in the springs actually has trace amounts of radium, which gives it that color and its name. So Radium Springs is a natural artesian spring where the water comes up out of the ground at peak capacity at 70,000 gallons per minute, which is super fast. And that water comes up out of the ground here and down this little creek and this little tributary and goes to the Flint River, which is just that way a little bit, which is cool. The water also comes up out of the ground at a constant 68 degrees. No matter the weather or the season outside, the water coming up out of the ground is always 68 degrees. Much like when you go in a cave above the ground, the temperature inside the cave is always 68 degrees. It's just the temperature of the inside of the earth, apparently. But it makes it a cool habitat for animals. So in the summer, they'll come here to these cooler waters and cool off. And then in the winter, the 68-degree water of the spring is warmer than the river. So they'll come here and get a little warmer. So you can always find fish and snakes and turtles, all sorts of creatures hanging out here. So let's check out and see what more we can learn at Radium Springs. Alright, so while we can't dive into the springs, because not only is it cold and wet, we do not have the proper scuba gear, we can talk about and take a closer look at the rock that is surrounding the springs and what the spring comes through. And that rock is limestone. Now, as you may know, limestone is a sedimentary rock, and when you find it in an area, that tells you that there used to be a shallow marine environment. So you find a lot of fossils in limestone as well, which is super cool, and we'll take a look at some of those in a minute. But specifically here in this region of Georgia, the topography underneath us is limestone. We have limestone as a bedrock, but it has a specific name which gives us these many blue holes and blue hole springs. So that name is karst, K-A-R-S-T, karst topography, which is a fun word. And karst topography just means that the limestone it looks like Swiss cheese. There's a lot of holes in it because limestone erodes easily, especially when you get acids within that water. And within those holes, they're filled with water, and sometimes they break through to the surface, or they can erode all the way to the surface, and you get a spring, much like Radium Springs here. Now, I mentioned we would look at limestone up close. I have a few samples here. They're super cool. Limestone is a relatively soft rock. As I said, it erodes easily, and within it, a lot of times you can find marine invertebrate fossils or impressions. So in this one we have different snails and shells, like that one right there, and all of these pieces, and corals. And then within this one we also have a coral, and I'm sure there's a ton more in here. Rocks are just really cool to look at. So yeah, this is our closer look at limestone. Let's see what else we can find here. have been gathering here at Radium Springs and around Blue Hole Springs in general for centuries. Native people who were here first, the Creeks and the Muskogees, they called this place Skywater. They believed that a piece of sky had fallen and made this place sacred and holy. Then in the early 1900s, settlers gathered here and they actually built the Radium Springs Resort. So it was a restaurant and cottages. People would come, swim, eat, just be together and enjoy nature and the outdoors and this beautiful scenery. That structure was there. It was eventually renamed Casino, although no gambling was done. And it was there until it burned in the 80s, and then there were the two floods of 94 and 98. So the building did not get rebuilt. It was pretty much demolished. But instead, they have built this kind of garden, kind of modeled after that building, but it's just a beautiful place to come and enjoy Radium Springs, to sit, picnic, gather, and learn. Joining me here today exploring the beautiful Radium Springs. Hopefully you'll get to come out and see it for yourself. Right now everything is green, but earlier in the spring all the azaleas are in bloom, and you can see this beautiful overhang of the live oaks and Spanish moss all year round. So hopefully you'll get to see it in person soon. And while you're here in Albany, come check out the Flint RiverQuarium. Our Blue Hole Springs exhibit is actually modeled after Radium Springs, and that way you can see an in-depth inside look at the creatures that live inside of there without actually getting wet or cold. So hope to see you soon.